Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Rob Gill, and I'm here with John Spring. What's up,
What's up, Rob? How you doing?
And Nick Cicero.
How you doing? How you doing?
So today, because we always hunt human excellence, and we love watching success in any single industry, whether it's in ours or it's in other industries, and when folks really know how to get multiple uses of each and every dollar through their business strategies, and today we have none better than Nick Cicero, the CEO and founder.
Yes.
Of Progressive Diagnostic Imaging.
Right.
And Nick, before we get into the whole story,
Sure.
Can we talk about like the massive acceleration and the trajectory you're on right now?
Sure. Where do you want to start?
Well, we could start like where it all started from in a couple of minutes, but like over the last 12 months or let's say 6 months post-COVID,
Sure.
How has that been able for you to kind of get your feet on the ground and take that next step forward?
Sure. So we bought the business a little over 3 years ago. We have a 10-year plan for the business.
Yep.
Right? So we were 2 years into it when COVID hit. We were ramping up. And actually, when COVID hit, the hospitals shut down their outpatient imaging, which ramped us up more.
Yep.
Just so you understand.
For anyone out there that's
Yeah.
new, like what exactly is
Yeah, so we
is
have a
your company?
multimodality imaging center. So MRI, CTs, X-rays, and ultrasounds.
Got it.
So if your doctor, you go to your doctor and your doctor says, hey, you need an MRI, you can go to a hospital, which is on the higher payer of the mix, or you could go to an independent imaging facility such as ours. And when you go to them, it's lower cost out of pocket, even though your insurance covers it, regardless of the hospital or our facility. You'll pay less out of pocket at our facility and more at a hospital.
Yes.
So your doctor will say, hey, you need an MRI of your shoulder. Why don't you go to an imaging center? And you look somewhere and you found us, and then you come to us.
Now, does the doctor recommend you guys versus
Yes.
the hospital, or what's that game look like?
He can.
Yeah.
But mostly they like to recommend at least 3 facilities,
Okay,
right?
cool. Yep.
So just for legal reasons and stuff, they don't want to redline and push everybody into one facility.
Understood.
They'll say, hey, where do you live? Oh,
Yeah.
well, I live in Red Bank. Okay, well, there's these 3 facilities that you can go to. You pick the one you want to.
Got it.
So then they come to us, and you get your scan and report in less than 48 hours.
Now that's your place?
Yes.
And so you probably had to ask yourself a business question a couple of years before that is how can you be better than your competition? What value can you add more than everybody else?
Correct.
Was that part of what happened 3 years ago?
It was kind of. So I started in imaging closer to 2003, 2004 in Brooklyn and Manhattan, working for a company called Stand Up MRI Health Diagnostics.
Yep.
That's where I cut my teeth. That's where I learned everything. That was my college, right? And I immersed myself in that industry. When I needed to understand doctor lingo, I went to doctor events, and I sat there with a legal pad, and I wrote everything down. And then one of my buddies, who was an ortho, who invited me to the event, 2 days later, he took him out to lunch, and I'd go through each of the acronyms and each of the things to learn everything.
Yeah.
Because I knew that I didn't want to be, quote unquote, a marketing guy that's a poster hanger, right? Like someone that just comes in, here's some donuts, here's some things. Hey, I'm Nick, I can do this for you. And I leave, and I'm like, that was a great call. And the doctor's like, who was that guy?
And that happens a lot, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yep.
So I wanted to be the guy that came into the doctor office and said, look, if you just give me 5 minutes to talk to you,
Yeah.
5 minutes,
Awesome.
you'll understand that what separates me from everybody else, right? And then I could have a conversation with him like, look, if you have a problem with a non-union fracture in the hip and you can't get that image, I'll do the scan again. And they're like, how does he know what a non-union fracture is?
Yeah,
Right?
and for all the folks that are out there right now, just what I'm noticing and as I watch Nick and I'm hearing about his value add, which was basically he was bringing something to the doctors that other folks didn't do because he did his extra credit homework. And at the same time, listen to the voice tonality as he gives the example when he would speak to the doctors. The tonality goes up, it goes down, and brings the doctor in. And as we all know, doctors have an attention span of about 6 minutes.
Yes.
So he was able to kind of tap into like, hey, let me get 5 minutes and let me show you what I have to offer.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's different pitches, right? There's a walk and talk pitch you might give him that you have 3 minutes to do.
Yep.
You might get a couple minutes in his office while he blindly looks at his laptop and doesn't look at you at all.
Yep.
Or he might sit there and you spark on something he likes, whether it's fishing or something else, and you can move and stay in there for an hour. You don't know.
Amazing. And this was like 2003, 4, and 5? Where you were kind
all
of
the way
coming
up to, I stayed there for 8-9 years. I built a center there in Bensonhurst, and I made it one of the best.
Wow.
Out of 56 locations in the company, I was number one for a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you know the whole time that you wanted to do your
Correct.
own? Okay.
Yeah,
So
I've
that
always
was that was the eye on the ball.
Yeah, I always wanted to go out on my own, right? When I was 18, I had a pizzeria I bought. I was a delivery driver at.
At 18?
Yeah, I was
Entrepreneur
I was a
all
delivery
over.
driver at a pizzeria, and I had some money pop up from an old accident when I was like 16. I got when I was 18, and I told my father, I go, Dad, I want to buy the pizzeria I'm at.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what about, I want you to go to college. I want you to get your degree and all that stuff. And I said, no, I agree, but I have an opportunity, so let me try it.
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So, I did that for 6 years. I built it up. I let it fall down through partying and having fun from my success as a 19-year-old.
And you had a lot of attention. All your
my
friends
God.
wanted to hang out with you.
Yeah, it was.
You were a celebrity.
It was a great 5 years of my life where all my friends worked there. We made it work. We made it a successful place.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. This isn't it.
Yeah.
I saw 50 years down the road, and I'm like, this isn't me.
But that was probably a better education than you got in 4 years of college.
Yes.
Right? Because you were in the game, building a business, letting a business go, building it back up, bringing your friends in, trying to figure it out, adjusting and everything else.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to college now, you don't learn that stuff.
No, not at all.
learn
Yeah, and to that point, when you're building a business, right, one of the things that you have to do is be able to kind of handle the different personalities of each employee. You find yourself in a position where you don't want to try and make everybody happy, but at the same time, you're dealing on a daily basis with the slings and arrows of the business, emotional, people coming in late, not coming in late. Do you fire somebody? Do you not fire somebody? What does that look like in a business? And that's a big time education.
Yeah, 100%.
That I didn't get in my 30s. I actually got it later on, like about 5 years ago. But, at the end of the day, I can't imagine owning a pizzeria at 18. That's pretty impressive. Very responsible, very entrepreneurial. Makes me think of one thing before we go back. When did you first become an entrepreneur? At what age?
Well, it's probably paper out time. My dad, I was 8, 9, and I want the two big bikes were Mongoose
Yes.
and Diamondbacks.
Mongoose.
Mongoose and Diamondbacks.
I remember the Mongoose.
Right. So Diamondbacks were like $300, and Mongooses were started at $150. I remember all this.
Yeah.
And so I went to my father and I showed him a picture and I said, I want that bike for Christmas. And he said, yeah? How much is that bike? I'm like, it's $150. He's like, okay, you save up 75. I'll give you 75 and you can buy that Mongoose.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what about a paper out? And I said, okay, done.
Yeah.
So I got a paper out. I saved up my $75 and I bought my Mongoose.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I guess that
where
would probably start that.
Where was the Huffy in that mix? Huffy was before the Mongoose?
That was for poor people. Me and you got the Huffies. No, me and you got...
They were good bikes.
My
though, right?
bike didn't have freestyle. I had, right? So all the kids that have more money.
least
used to
you
get
remember the
Mongoose.
Huffy, though.
Yeah, of course I do.
At least you remember the
Yes,
Huffy.
with
all
the
right.
big seat.
I thought I might be aging myself.
Yeah.
No,
No, you are. Wait, hold on.
Okay.
You are the oldest person.
Speaking
in
of
the
that,
room
happy
right now.
birthday today, bud.
Thank you. Today's my birthday.
Oh,
Today's
happy
my
birthday.
Thanks,
Happy
brother.
birthday. Oh, I feel honored to
Yeah,
be a guest
man.
on the birthday.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, but that was the first time that I started doing it. And then the second one, I always had the gift of gab, right? So I was 12 years old. My mom was taking me to Open Country Shoe Store in Woodbridge Center Mall.
Oh, you're from Jersey, right?
Yeah, Middlesex
Okay.
County.
Even when
Yeah.
you lived in Benson, like, what was that? How'd you wind up in Brooklyn?
I was in,
Did you grow up in?
No, I grew up in Jersey.
Yeah. Okay.
But I worked in Manhattan for Sprint when it started up.
Okay.
I ran New Jersey and Staten Island. I was the marketer to get all the.
So marketing is something you love.
Yeah,
Yeah, got it.
yeah.
I'm seeing that theme.
Yeah.
I mean, we're jumping all around. I don't know where you want to go.
It's all good.
No, go
It's
everywhere.
having fun, man.
That's-
So my trajectory from back then was when I was 12, I went to Open Country Shoe Store with my mom to get shoes for school.
Yep.
And I'm talking to the manager, and the guy says to my mother, hey, I need a stock boy. Like, your kid's pretty sharp. You think I can get him to do that? My mom's like, he's not old enough to get working papers. And so she's like, don't worry about it. Bring him in. This was a long time ago, so we don't have to,
It's not
to worry about. Yeah, I'm not getting anybody in trouble.
Yeah, we're not naming
Half the people are gone already.
Yeah.
But so they got working papers somehow for me, and I started doing stock boy things. And one day the salesperson called out and the guy said to me, who owned this shoe store, he's like, hey, could you fill on the floor for me? I'm 12.
Yeah.
I outsold everybody the whole day. And he's like, he tells my mom, he's like, hey, can we switch him from stock boy to sales? And my mom's like, well,
That's priceless experience.
But he can only work on weekends because he has school and sports and stuff like that. So I work Saturdays and Sundays. That's it. And I I sold.
And were you feeling like the money aspect of that at that age?
No.
Okay.
Just the fun
It was exciting.
of selling the most.
Okay.
He had a little board in the back,
Got
had
it.
my name on it, and I was out selling their normal people all
Awesome.
the time on those days I worked. So
Tremendous.
that's kind of like, I guess, the paper out to that, and then also
Yeah, so
the
it sounds like maybe I'm thinking out loud, but it sounds like, you worked for the owner of the store, so you saw what a business owner is like. You also delivered pizzas for the business. You saw what that business looked
Yep.
like. So all of a sudden you had money coming in and you took a shot, which is tremendous. Lasted 5 years, gave you that Harvard degree, right?
Yeah.
5 years and got a Harvard degree in business by actually doing it every single day. And then boom, you take your next move. You're working in Manhattan, and now we're like 2003 to 2010.
So I'm going to throw you another curveball.
Let's go.
So after I was always a hockey player. And
There you go, Johnny.
After I got out of, when I got out of the pizzeria, I was depressed that year. So I was like 260 pounds. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I felt like I went on this monster roller coaster. Fun, but in the end I was burnt.
So remember, we're helping people.
Yeah.
Right? So I remember for me, my first wave of success was between, I'd say 96 to 03.
Okay.
And then from 03 to 10, something happened in 10 and 11 where I had to make a major shift. And that's where I felt the wave of like, I don't know if I could do this, or a lot of self questions about if I'm meant to do this or not. And then the next thing happened, everything is great. What was that? What was going on at that time to serve these folks that you were going through, and then what did you do to get out of it? That's my biggest question. Like, what was going on? Was it you no longer had the natural endorphins of the business? That was kind of gone, and now all of a sudden something clicked, whatever it was, that took you on the next phase.
Yeah, well, I can help you out tremendously for people who are trying to get businesses in, out, whatever they want to do. When I had the pizzeria, I took it from nothing to like the pinnacle, right? Numbers wise.
Yep.
And then I went on a party and ride as
Yep.
a 19-year-old kid would, 20-year-old kid would, right? Everything's on me. Let's go here. Let's go there.
Yep.
Let's have fun. Let's do all that. And I can tell you, in those 6 years, I went on major roller coasters up and down. I built the business up 3 times in it. But by the end, like I said before, I realized that I could see 50 years down the road, and that wasn't where I was meant to be. So when I sold the business, I felt this huge weight lift off, because remember, everything was on me.
Yeah.
I didn't have backup.
Yep.
My parents weren't backing me. Like, they were helping, right? They'd come in, they'd help when they can, but there was no backup. Everything was in my name, and failure or success was that. And I failed. I failed at the end, even though my father was like, no, you didn't. You did great, blah, blah, blah. But I said, okay, what can I do to get myself back on track? I was overweight. I was depressed. I wasn't feeling good anymore. And I said, let me get back into what I love, which was hockey.
Yeah.
Right? So I started from the bottom, right? I sold the business. I took whatever money I had left. I paid off the debt. I put a little money in my pocket. I went back to living at home, and I started driving Zamboni and teaching kids hockey.
Wow.
Right? So now I'm in that atmosphere again, where I'm starting to feel good about myself. I start running again. I start trying to drop a little weight, right? I went from 260 to 240. And then I had an opportunity. This power skating camp came in, Robbie Glantz Power Skating, which is associated with the LA Kings.
Yep.
They came in, and I talked to their guys, schmoozed them, right? Like, my sales part came out. And I started talking to them, and I said, what do you guys do? And they told me what they do, and blah, 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 and how there's not a lot of people that do it. And they travel around almost 300 days a year, and they teach kids. They teach pros. They teach college kids. And I lit up.
Yeah.
Right? So I begged them to give me a tryout. And they said, okay, on your own dime, get to Buffalo, right? In 6 weeks, and you can try out.
And what kind of tryout is this?
It was like a skating tryout.
Okay,
like
got it.
To be a skating coach, though? For their
It's
team? Okay.
So Robbie Glantz
So you got to know all the drills and stuff.
Yeah. You have to be a great skater, right?
Yeah.
And I used to be when I was younger,
Yeah.
but now 6 years of owning a pizzeria, eating donuts and pizza all day made it different. So I got down to what I thought I could do, and I went there and I failed miserably.
Yeah.
Miserably. Like, people who are now my dear friends were like, hey, kid, this isn't for you. Some kids were like, what are you doing here? You know, they told the owner, they're like, why did you even let this kid try out? You know, like, you know, it's, what was this all about? So he brought me in and he's like, hey, look, Nick, you're a great kid. He's like, but this isn't for you. And I'm like, listen, it is for me.
Wow.
Give me one more chance. One more chance. And he said, and it took a while. And he said, okay, in 6 months or 7 months, there's another one in Maryland. I'll let you do it one more time.
Okay.
I said, done. So I had one of the guys that was there was a Wisconsin Badger, Division I hockey player. And he kind of liked me a little bit, even though he made fun of me too. But that's good. You need it, right?
Sure, of course.
You
Honesty.
need people to give you the
Honest
truth.
assessment.
Yep.
So I said to him, can you do anything? Can you give me your off-ice program that you did for the summer? Just give me. So I took it, went to the hotel, photocopied the whole thing. It turns out the guy who wrote it was a New Brunswick guy.
Wow.
New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Look at that,
So he gave me
successfully
his
excluded.
number.
Yeah.
I called him. I said, look, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm from Jersey. Can you give me any other tips? I got on a weightlifting program. I took the program from the Wisconsin Badgers Division I program, and I followed that.
Wow.
And I went from 243 to 198, solid as a rock.
Wow.
And my skating was off the charts.
Wow.
And to keep myself from having bills, I was a bartender at night on Fridays and Saturdays, and I drove the Zamboni the rest of the week.
Yeah.
And I told the guy that at the hockey rink, look, let me skate at 4 a.m. before no one's there.
Yeah.
I'll cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're not messing up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me jump in for a second, because I think for the folks out there, any entrepreneur, the bottom line is, if you're watching YouTube, if you're watching TikTok, and if somebody tells you that there's a thing called overnight success, it's not true. Don't let them in your house. What I just heard Nick say, and he was talking about, he had an outcome. That outcome was driven by a purpose, so he was able to wake up every day and have the self-juice he needed to perform that day. And then he had a massive action plan. That massive action plan was tied to the gentleman in New Brunswick who had the workout program. And Nick was like, all right, let me time block this the right way. Let's think of Unblinded's formula, process, self, and influence mastery. Let me time block. I'm going to work at night. I'm going to do what I got to do here. I'm going to follow this program. And from 6 months, he went from 240 to 193, goes back to the workout. But that lesson, I'm assuming, as I sit with you right now, what you learned during that time serves you to this day in your business.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Tremendous.
Because there's no easy way.
Yeah.
Right?
And people think there is.
No.
And listen, to go from 240 to 193.
198.
198,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That tells me you have a lot of self-discipline,
Yeah.
because you don't do that, you know, especially
Yeah.
when you did it. You
Yeah.
know, there weren't these fad diets where you could lose 30
No,
and gain it all
no,
back.
no.
But you
There
have
was
to
just
put
all
your
the
plan
bro
into
science.
action and stick with it.
Yeah.
And I could tell you're a very competitive person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Going back to the
100%.
shoe store, right?
Yeah.
And then playing hockey, obviously you're competitive.
Yeah.
But that's what drives you as well.
Yeah.
So once you didn't make it on that team,
Yeah.
that just amped up your desire to do
You
it.
didn't quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't understand, no.
Yeah, I have a personal thing I use in my head. It's bullying builds leaders. And so people are always talking about how bad bullying is, right? You need to stop bullying here. You need to stop bullying here. I was bullied. Like it's almost like a badge now for people.
Sure.
Right? Or a crutch.
Yes.
I always had it in my head was good. Those guys bullied me. They fired me up.
Yeah.
They got me moving. If they were super nice to me and like, hey, you did your best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Go make a pizza again.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
They would have done me no justice.
Exactly. Now they probably tell stories about you.
Yeah.
In glowing terms about, hey, we knew a guy, Nick, that boom,
Yeah.
he overcame that, and then, right?
Well, you want to laugh? When I went back to Maryland to try out again, they didn't recognize me.
Yeah.
No one knew who I was.
Yeah. Who's this guy?
Yeah. The one guy who really busted my chops,
Yeah.
he was like, who are you? You know, where did Robbie find you? And I'm like, I'm Nick. I was in Buffalo 6 months ago. He's
Yeah.
like, no way.
There was an imposter.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, he was like, no way. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah. And he became a good friend of mine.
Awesome.
You know?
I love it.
Transformation.
But yeah, so like that was so I did that for 6 years. I made it to a head instructor, and I ran programs all over the country, and I was
And for how long were you running those programs?
6 years.
Okay, so you just said that. I apologize. So
Yeah, it's okay.
pizza sold, about a year transition. All of a sudden, you're now running programs for 6
Yeah,
years, right?
Yeah. You know, if I could say one thing to anybody who's listening to this, if you look at my resume, it is like, who did it and ran, right? Pizzeria, hockey, sales and marketing for Sprint PCS, then sales and marketing for the Dolans, for Cablevision, for in Ohio, then back here, it's like, because, and people would, my family especially, like my cousins and family, they'd be like, what is this kid doing?
Yeah.
He can't
Those are the
get
toughest critics. Yeah.
He can't get one job forever. And I was like, no. I'm trying to like do something amazing. I'm trying to leave a legacy.
Yeah.
I can't do that if I just sit at a job, right?
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends that are police, firemen, and I love them to death. And you know what? They're retired now, right? And they're sitting pretty on a beach, and I love them for it. But I couldn't see my life 40 years down the road.
Yeah.
I needed to make my own path, right? Like become something.
Sure.
So that's like, if you're out there and you're like, hey, I tried this and it didn't work, and your family and everybody is telling you, patting you on the back, hey, go work in this business, go get this job, it'll last 30 years, go do this. Don't do it. If you really have a gut feeling that you can do something, you need to just stick to what you want to do and try different businesses, because each one of these businesses led me to where I am today. Not giving up. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That was the key for me. Yeah. That was 100% the key for me. So in that last year of hockey, the NHL was voting on parity, making all teams available and able to put on the payroll a power skating instructor. If that happened in those summer meetings, then there was like 13 of us that
would have had a shot.
Were good, and then I would be not on the road 268 days a year anymore. I would be for a team now.
You'd be like a player.
In one spot, right? Right. And they voted it down. Okay. So it was $10.99 for me for the rest of my life, and traveling 300 days a year on the road. No family, no friends. Yeah. It's lonely, right? Yeah. It's fun, right? You're meeting all these hockey players. You're doing all this great stuff. I saw almost the entire the entire United States. I've been to like 5-6 cities in each state. Yeah. So fun, but I couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. So one of the bigwigs for Sprint, his son was in my camp every year, and he said, "Listen, if you ever want to get out of this, call me. I think you're a great sales guy." And I said, "I've never been in sales." He goes, "You're a sales guy." Yeah. He's like, "You don't know it. You're a sales guy." Yeah. So when that ended, I called him up, sure enough, and I said, "Tim, is there anything open?" He goes, "Yeah, there's actually Staten Island and New Jersey." Oh, wow. For Sprint. Nice. Come in and interview. Yeah. So I came in an interview with this guy, a nice guy, Pete, and he's interviewing. So how long have you been in the cell phone business? I'm like, never. He's like, how long have you been a sales and marketing guy? Never. Yeah. He's like, so what did you do before this? I was a power skating instructor. What'd you do before that? I owned a pizzeria. He's like, okay. So he talked to me for a couple minutes, and I found this out later, right? He talks to Tim, and he's like, look, I'm going to hire this guy. And Tim's like, no. He's like, did Nick show up? He's like, yeah. He goes, you're going to hire Nick. And he's like, that guy has no experience in anything. Yeah. He's like, no, you're going to hire Nick. Yeah. He's like, hire Nick. I'm telling you, I know this kid for like 4 years. You're going to hire this kid. So they hired me, and within 11 months, I was number one.
Wow. So incredible. And let's talk about something. I'm going to just kind of give the recap takeaways. Sure. For me, I'm hearing proximity is power, meaning your work ethic as a skate instructor created relationships. Yes. Right? Yes. Those relationships tied you into folks that knew somebody who knew somebody. Yes. Right? And as it was winding down, somebody identified a success trait that you had. Yeah. Gives you an interview in a business you've never been in before. No. But because of that proximity, and the guy, by the way, the guy giving the interview, really not knowing the same information as Tim, who set it up. Yep. Now all of a sudden is told, no, you got to hire Nick. And then a year later, because of the relationship capital that was developed through action, you become number one. Yeah. And incredible. I did the same thing. And that's good for all these folks out here. Like remember, every day you show up and whatever you're doing, people are noticing, good, bad, or indifferent. So you want to make sure that the people that are noticing, good, bad, or indifferent, you want it to be good, of course, because there's always going to be an opportunity afterwards.
Yeah. If I may bring up another point.
Please.
In all of these businesses, I didn't know anything. Yep. And so when all my friends were going home for the night or going to the bar, I had that stupid yellow legal pad again, and I was in meetings I shouldn't have been in. I asked the big guy, I was like, can I sit in on this meeting? Can I sit on this meeting? And I just taking notes, because the more you know about the industry, and time isn't, sometimes time is your friend, and sometimes you don't need it. Sometimes you just need, if you're every day diligent on what you're trying to do, you'll learn quicker.
Accelerate.
Right? Because once I learned the cell phone business, then I went out there and I marketed to all the accounts, and I knew, okay, I would say to the marketers, how many accounts you're visiting? And they're like 9 or 10 a day. So I was like, okay, I got to go to do 20.
Yeah.
And I went to 20 a day.
Love it.
Yep.
You know, and that started that whole thing of learning how to become a salesperson, because I still wasn't polished, right?
Yeah.
I was more, I still had the, hey, you know, a little bit in me, but I had that drive and the desire to want to be able to talk to somebody on an intelligent level in their business, even though I've only in it for.
It also
for a
sounds
months.
like to me, and I'll turn it to you. It sounds like to me that no, you were not offended by no, and even if someone said no, you were probably so nice that the door was open for a future yes.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like it wasn't like somebody said no and you never went back again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
your
was never the
follow-up-
hard sell.
Your follow up must have been incredible.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just think it's amazing that you were teaching, you know, a gentleman's son power skating.
Yeah.
And he knew you were a salesman. Right.
Yeah.
So that's something.
That was weird.
I don't think that's
To me.
weird though. I
To
think
me, at
to
that
you it was,
time,
of course,
yeah.
because you didn't realize.
I'm
it,
looking
but-
at him like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? You know?
But prior to that, you were selling shoes. You know, you were selling newspapers. You were selling your whole life. You didn't
Yeah,
realize it.
right.
But even, you know, something is, because my son plays hockey, so I'm at these, you know, skating clinics
Nice,
and everything
yeah.
else. But your interaction with people was something special, and that guy realized it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have the skills, you can sell anything.
Yeah.
as we
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And you're
that's a
smart
great
enough.
point.
And then when you get in, you know, you get into a business where you're going to sell and you don't know anything about it, it's probably even better.
Yeah.
Because you have no preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Right? And you're willing to do the work and you model people. How many do you do? 10? Good, I'm going to do 20.
Yeah.
Right?
Model
So-
plus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're modeling, you know, and you knew all the keys to success innately.
Yeah.
You knew that. Or when Rob delves into when your younger years, where do you think this all came from? Like, how did you have this acumen
I think
through
my
your life?
father's work ethic was second to none. Second to none. Even though he wasn't around a ton because he worked multiple jobs in the city, and he was just, you know, he was a list guy, right? Like, this is my list. This is what I have to get done. I'm gonna knock it down. And he moved up through the ranks at his company the same way. And he put it all out there. So my sisters and I 100% got our work ethic from him.
At what age did you know that your dad was not around? Like, when did you discover that? Because you were born into whatever it was.
I mean, he was, look, he had to be in the city for 6:30, so he was gone before we woke up for school.
So you would basically see him on weekends?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean,
got it.
and he would come home 6, 7 o'clock at night. You know, my mother would give him his dinner. We already had dinner. We'd see him for a little bit. He'd play with us for a little bit,
Yeah.
put us to bed, and then the cycle started all over again.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes he wouldn't come home at 7 because he had to work a second job. And so he would leave his first job, and then he'd go to his second job, and he worked in the trade center, so he worked there, and then he'd go to another and walk to another building, stay there for an overnight. You know, like he was a very hard worker.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
He did what he needed to do.
Amazing.
So I think that
Yep.
just,
Of course.
you know, just seeing that all the time.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's important to understand that if you have a burning desire, you have an outcome, a purpose, something that's going to drive you every day, and then as you go through life and you want to be able to create a legacy and have an impact, you eventually find your space. And
Yeah.
I think that you know, one of the things you guys had done, and we can get back to where you are today.
Sure.
And why you're different. And for anyone that's in the New Jersey, New York area, you might want to listen to this. Why your company is different and what kind of trajectory you're on right now, because I think it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's a great question. So you can throw a rock and hit an MRI company in
Exactly.
our area.
Yep.
In your area.
Yep.
All over New Jersey.
So why should I come to your spot?
When you walk in the door, you are treated like a king. It's not, or a queen. It's not your best day that you're coming to our center. If you're coming for an image, you're nervous. You're scared. You have anxiety.
Yeah.
Why do I have to get this scan? What's wrong with me, right? And what I found was the majority of places are like this. Name, what are you here for? sit down, fill this paperwork out. We'll be with you in a moment.
Yeah, it does feel
Right?
very cold.
It's like
Yes.
super
100%.
cold.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, dark colors.
Yes.
Everybody's mad.
True.
The staff's mad. The girls are mad. The guys are mad. Everybody's
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah.
So I said, look, we're not doing that. I built the waiting room to look like a spa. I set up our own content in the waiting room. So it's only positive stuff on the TV. No negative stuff at all. Right? Wow. So we create that atmosphere when you walk in the door. My girls are always like, hi, how are you? What are you here for today? You know, or they say something funny, right? Like, love that dress on you today, whatever.
Yeah.
To get them to ease up a little bit, that, hey, we're here to help.
Yeah.
You know, and then the touch. I call it the touch. So a patient comes in, our girls make sure they take care of them fully. They know what they're doing. They know why they're there. They know how long it's going to take. If it's going to take longer, they'll let them know, right? They'll keep in touch with them. And then when they pass them off to the tech that comes get them, the tech does the same thing. Hi, how you doing? Why are you here? What happened? You know, like, what's going on? And it's not BS. It's not fake. Like, I want them to know why. Because I say to my techs, if you know what's going on, you can help them. You can maybe set them up a little better, whatever.
Yep.
If you know a little, get them talking, you calm them down, right? So then they get their scan done. Now they walk them back out to the front, talk to the girl again. Hey, how'd it go in there? Everything good?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what you're going to do. And then we give them the whole spiel. This is where your doctor's going to get it. This is the time your doctor's going to get it. If you need a copy, this is what you do. Here's my card. Here's my email address and my phone number. If you have any more questions when you leave this door, you call us.
Yeah.
Right? So now they leave and they're like, huh, that was easy.
Yeah.
That was good. They cared.
And it was the time between when they leave, when they get there and when they leave. Is it systematized? Is it efficient?
Yes.
What's the waiting room look like? Like anything there that
As
separates
far-
you guys?
Yeah. So, you know, in our business, you're going to wait.
Yeah.
There is a wait, right? So we try to keep to our schedule as best we can.
Yeah.
So that we're the lowest waiting
Yeah.
out of all the facilities.
Yep.
Right? Because right now, I don't know if you know this, but most of the imaging centers now are already bought up by corporate centers. Right? So there's a bunch of big guys that keep buying up all the little guys.
Yep.
Just for instance, in my area, we're the last privately owned mom and pop MRI facility, period. And we're hanging on.
Are they knocking on the door?
They are.
Yeah.
I keep saying no.
Yeah. Excellent.
You know, I want to build my legacy, right?
Yeah.
When I'm ready to sell,
Yeah.
and our plan's done, then we'll sell. But
Yeah.
you know, I want to build something first. I want to keep
Awesome.
it moving.
That's
know?
great.
So that's what separates us, right?
And how many offices do you have right now?
Right now, one.
And then the goal, you're looking to expand
So,
that?
the goal was, and this is another thing for people. If you're thinking of starting a business and your grand plan is 10 locations, 5 locations, 8 locations, 50, whatever it is, when you get into it and you're going through the motions for the first couple of years, that could change. It could change for the better.
Absolutely.
Let
I
me
agree
say
with
this.
that.
Yeah, it's always going to change
I
for the
agree.
better because it's going to change for what you want.
Yeah.
Right? So our original plan was 10 locations, and now it's not anymore.
Yeah.
We want to bust at the seams of this location,
Sure.
maybe another location, and then keep them running as efficiently as humanly possible, and then maybe make a move a little bit down the road on something else.
Okay.
So I'm always thinking of
Yeah.
the next thing.
And what does the next thing look like? What does the next 5 years look like?
So the next 5 years is getting this one center that we just renovated and put a new magnet in and put all new equipment in, busting at the seams. Right?
Okay.
So, and for us, that's like over 500 scans, 500 patients per month.
And you know how to kind of re-engineer that back into what you need to go to get there. Like, you know what kind of drivers you need, or
Yeah.
how you market, or how do people find out to come to you? Do you have all that set up?
Yeah, well, so you have it all set up, but so my wife's the CFO, right?
Yep.
So when I have all these grand plans for advertising, marketing, commercials, all this thing, boots on the ground, then she's like, okay, here's your budget.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right, I got to zig,
Yeah.
I got to do more boots on the ground, less of this, less of that. And you start figuring it out. So right now the only thing we're missing is exposure.
Got it.
Yeah.
People still, after 4 years, come in and say, this is a hidden gem.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God, hidden gem?
I was just going to ask you, what you described, it's like a spa in there, people
Yeah.
engaging.
Yeah.
That's not the experience most people have when they go into
100%.
any kind of whether it's a doctor's office
you're
or
right.
an imaging center or
Yeah.
anything else. So my question was going to be, because of that, are you seeing it pay dividends?
Yes.
Word of mouth, things
Yes.
like that. Because if you have to get a scan and you're not going to, you have a choice between a run-of-the-mill, now corporate owned, so
Yeah.
it's colder than cold.
Yeah, and it's one
Right?
one central phone number. So you never really
yeah.
get a live person.
Exactly.
It's like such a pain.
Exactly.
And our center, no matter the way I built it and the way I
That's
structured
phenomenal.
That is huge.
the way I structured the inside, no matter how big we get,
Yep.
the phones will always be taken care of by live
Amazing.
people
Yeah.
at that center.
Yes,
That was the
that's-
biggest difference, right? Because if you have 12 centers and you have one central call center
Yep.
in
India.
wherever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like the connection's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone
Yeah.
for the doctor, it's
Yep.
gone for the patient.
Yeah.
So the way I figured it out in my office, the processes we did, we can take the heat, right? We can take the level of the growth
Yep.
and keep it right there.
So here's my question: what has been the best drivers for you right now, like over the last 2 years? How do you get?
Myself and one other marketer.
Got it. So you're just knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what is the ideal?
In a strategic way. It's not just knocking on doors.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you for that's a good distinction because
Yeah.
you don't want to.
There's
just
a
knock on
difference.
doors. Yeah. Thank you. That's
So-
amazing. What is that?
I was going to say, with that said, what doors are you knocking?
Yeah.
Especially for this, for what's
Sure.
going on out there. But
Sure.
what doors are you, are you talking to hospital personnel? Are you talking to individual doctors' offices?
It's doctor's offices.
Doctors, and what
groups
specialties?
and
What are the
law.
main?
So it's orthopedic, neurology, pain management, internal meds, what am I missing? Nephrology, anything. Pick a
Not
specialty.
hospitals.
No, and that's funny because in Brooklyn and Manhattan, hospitals were my accounts
Wow.
because of the sheer amount of people in the borough.
Yeah.
Hospitals couldn't take it all. So
Yeah.
I said to my boss when I first got into Brooklyn, I'm like, I don't see any hospitals on this list.
Yeah.
He's like, why would you market a hospital? I'm like,
Yeah.
they got their own MRI machine. I go, because they're swamped.
Yeah.
The doctors are telling me it's 6 to 12 days to get a report and 8 to 10 days to get an appointment.
Yeah.
So I said, I went right to Coney Island Hospital. I went right to the MRI department. I said, who's the boss here?
Yeah.
Got him and said, hey, listen, I'm Nick. I have an MRI center down the road. I just want to help you with your overflow. When you're stressed to the max and you were supposed to get these patients in and you just can't,
Yeah.
send them over to me. I'll
Yeah.
get them done in 24 hours. I'll send it right back to you.
So that's what you're saying now?
No.
Oh, that's
no,
what
you
you
know.
said.
that was-
So what,
okay.
how did that stop though? Did the
Jersey's
hospitals
not
own
like that.
Do they own their own?
Yes.
Their own
Well, all the
external?
hospitals own their own.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But the amount of people in the Jersey area is different.
It
right?
doesn't
Right.
overflow.
Gotcha.
Right, it doesn't
Gotcha.
overflow. So the hospital's like, I don't need you.
Yeah.
Right. So I said,
I wanna
okay.
take your pay.
yeah. So I just use doctors and lawyers. Lawyers have PIP.
Yeah.
People get into car accidents. It's a PIP case. It's no longer on their medical insurance. Right.
And that's how we met through Callagy Law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We met at the
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Practice
semester.
Right.
Yes.
So I market those people. I go in and and the biggest difference, like you said, what's the distinction between just marketing
Yeah.
and the marketing we do is that so a lot of people out there are like, if I introduce you need something, right? So if I introduce you to 5 people a week, that's enough. And you should now help me out with what I need.
Yeah.
Right? So people will just, you'll have 10 meetings that week.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the way I like to work. I want to do the one meeting that
Yes.
week
Yes.
with person that I know you'll mesh with.
Yeah.
Right? If I put you with, if I can't pick personalities out, right? So if you're a marketer out there, if you want to put people together, my number one thing I can tell you to do is learn the personality of the person you're talking to and learn the personality of the other person and see if they'll gel. Because it doesn't matter if they have an enormous business and they can help the other person. If they won't get along, if they don't have some of the same values that they need, it's going to fail. And then you're going to be the bad one that you put them in touch with them and
Yeah.
it didn't come to anything. And you're thinking, hey, I put you with 5 people. It's not my fault if it doesn't work out.
Exactly.
I don't think that way. It is your fault.
Yeah.
It's all on you.
Yep.
Take stock in what
Especially
you do.
if you look at yourself first. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So when I introduce a doctor to another doctor, I know those two are going to get along.
Yeah.
Right? And then after that, if something doesn't happen, well, that's definitely on them. But I'm introducing people I know will click.
Yeah.
right? And that's the difference, right? I used to go to events when I was younger, and I'd say, okay, I want to leave here with 10 phone numbers and a couple of people I can call the next day. And then I realized over time, over 8 years, it's 2. The number's 2. I want to, if I'm at an event, I want to make an impact and learn from 2 people deeply in that time I'm there.
And you know your success process based on that.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. So,
awesome.
So that is what marketers do. But now, as far as just the normal, what you should do every day, you got to hit 20 offices a day.
Okay.
You got to hit 20 offices a day. And what happens is you work from the ground up, right? You make the front desk your best friend. Then you make the office manager your best friend. Then you make this person. So it doesn't happen overnight.
Takes time.
It takes time to build these things. But there's 2 ways, right? Like a marketer can go in and make a splash. Like if I hire a marketer and he makes a splash and he comes back and goes, man, this guy's sending me 20 a day. Well, then I start asking questions.
Sure.
Why is he sending you 20 a day?
Yeah.
That's not
normal. Yeah.
Right? It's when you make 1 a day, 1 a month, 2 a month, 3 a month, and you make a relationship with that person where, you know, he says to you, hey, my son just felt, my doctor calls me and says, and this was a true story. Doctor called me and said on Super Bowl Sunday, I'm sitting down at my own party for Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.
Doctor calls me and says, my kid fell off, whatever, I need an MRI. I said, when do you want it? He's like, now. I'm like, okay. Called the tech. I said, hey, I hate to do this to you. Can you run over, open up the site? I'll meet you there. We just need to scan this ortho's son real quick.
Wow.
And we did it.
Wow, amazing.
Right?
Yep.
Now that's a relationship.
By the way, it's a phenomenal. What kind of machine do you have versus others?
So-
is it comparable? Is it advanced?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So we just installed a 1.5 Siemens open short bore MRI.
It's open.
So it's not your standard open MRI. It's 77 centimeters around.
Yep.
Right. So that means when someone's laying down, there's a foot of space between their nose
Versus like 6 inches.
versus
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
A coffin, a 9-foot
Oh,
coffin.
I happened to me
Right?
when I couldn't do it. I had to go
Right.
stand up after that.
Yeah. Right.
I couldn't do it.
So this one has this monster opening,
Yeah.
and the whole magnet's only 3.5 feet long.
Yep.
Not 9 feet.
Yep.
So 70% of your body is out of the machine at any given point, and that's huge. I mean,
Yeah, it
that's,
is.
That's going to give you even the worst of claustrophobic patients.
Yeah.
They'll go in, they'll see it, and they'll go, "I could do that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then we
Yeah.
give them music. They can put whatever music they want on.
Yeah.
So, you know, going back to this business, and now we're on year 4, right?
Yep.
I went as far as I could with the old equipment when I bought it. Right? I remember when I met
do,
you, I told
yeah,
you.
I
You
do.
said, "How'd you do this?" I said, "We burned the boats."
I
Right?
remember, yep.
We
Yeah. I loved
Chris and
it.
I took all our money.
I loved it.
We left our corporate lives
Yep.
after her 20 years, me 18 years, and we said, "Let's buy this old dilapidated place." Because I went to everybody and I said, "Look, I'm going on an apology tour to all the doctors. Look, I'm sorry for whatever happened for the last 12 years. I'm going to try to build this place up,
Yeah.
and I'm going to put a new magnet in.
Yeah.
Just give me time. Send
Yep.
me what you can now."
Yep.
Right? And now, so we got to the most we were going to get with the old bucket.
Yep.
And then now we put this new magnet in, and now I went to all the other doctors that said, "Hey, I like you, but I can't send it to you until you get,
So you get the magnet.
the correct
Yep.
magnet."
Yep.
Now I have it, and I'm like, "All right, let's go. Let's rock and roll."
And what they
And
said?
that was on your list
Started.
already, right? You had that
Oh yeah.
list. Yeah, I know.
Oh yeah. Like last week was every day I was in 3-4 meetings
So you kept good relationships with these folks.
for the 3 years.
It's all about relationship capital.
Yeah, just trying to do whatever I could for them, right?
Yeah.
And, expectations is the biggest thing. If I go into a doctor's office and I say to them, "Hey, I'm Nick. I got this 20-year-old magnet that's on its last leg, and can you send me everything you got? The images are fantastic." They're going to be like, "This guy."
Exactly.
But if you go in and say, "Look, I know I got a bomb
Yeah,
of a
true.
magnet,
That's
but I
right.
fixed it up the best I can. I have the best staff. Your patients will be taken care of. If you can only send me one claustrophobic patient a month, great. Let's
Yeah.
just keep that. And then the day I get the new magnet, I'll let you know, and we'll go from there." So you're building that capital over
Yeah.
3 years with people and doing things for them.
Yeah.
And setting expectations.
Yeah,
right?
because remember, if you refer, like if I'm a doctor or if I'm referring a client to an accountant, I don't want that client to come back to me and say the experience wasn't good.
Right. No, of course.
So the doctor wants to make sure that if his client goes there, they're going to have a good experience,
100%.
and then they're going to. It's easy to rinse and repeat that model.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now you
Tremendous.
have the model built where you have the best experience for the client.
Right.
And then you have for the doctor after state-of-the-art
That
imaging.
was the last
so
part.
that's the beauty of it
Yeah.
now. So now you're
Yeah.
going in like, you know.
So you actually going down the mountain at this point? Like the climb was to last 3 years. Is it now getting to the point where you're going down? There's a little bit of wind behind you. From a business perspective, are you still climbing the mountain?
Yeah, because think about it. We took all our money, dumped it into the place for 3 years. We built the business up.
Yep.
We pulled back some money out so we can, have
Live.
some sort of cushion and
Yeah.
live, right? When I met you, I had a 1.5-year-old and
Yep.
and a newborn.
Yep.
And now they're 5 and 6.5.
Yep.
But so what happened was, it's funny. We got to a good safety net.
Yep.
And then we took the loan out and redid the whole facility, and now we're climbing again.
Got it. Yeah, you're always climbing though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that same nervous feeling again.
Yes.
So which is good.
Keeps you sharp.
Yes.
Yes.
It keeps me out there.
Yes.
It keeps me moving.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the tough part. Like
Yeah.
you're back to the climbing.
Well, you're climbing now at the top of your game, like with your best equipment on.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Medical equipment, but also your office and everything else.
Yes.
Where you climbed when you had nothing. Like
Nothing.
Just started the office.
Yeah.
And your magnet was
Yeah.
crappy.
Yeah.
So now it's great. Like, and you're revisiting all these fresh, these leads that you've
Yeah.
developed. And like you said, done things for people, create reciprocity and things
Yeah.
like that. And you come back to them and they're happy to do work with you.
Yeah, it's the biggest difference is now, like when we first bought the business, we didn't have money to fix up the waiting room, like because it looked like something, the most depressing thing you want to see, right? So I said to the wife, well, they're saying 11 grand to do that. And she's like, yeah? No. Like, where are we pulling it from? It's all gone. It's all in the business. So I said, well, I can buy all the materials for $600. I'll do it myself on the weekends.
Wow.
So every weekend I was painting, laying tile, putting floor in, and I just
Makes you-
myself.
makes
No
you
one
appreciate
helped.
the business even
Yeah.
more.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
amazing.
you know.
So right now, you got the machine. You took out whatever you got to take out to get the machine. How many employees do you have?
So we have around 13
And where were you 3 years ago?
employee-wise.
Yeah.
We had 2.
Yeah. Right
Yeah.
there. So now that's part of the growth process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the hard part right
Yeah.
now. COVID really threw everybody for a loop as far as personnel, right? You can drive down any of your main streets right here, you see signs all day. I know
Nonstop.
everybody
Oh,
need
yeah.
help, right? And so when you're hiring people now, it used to be you'd get 16 resumes, you'd come in, you'd interview all 16 people, and you'd have a hard time figuring out which one you wanted. And now it's like, I can interview 30 people, and 2 that I might want, they're like, well, what are you going to give me?
Yeah.
What
Crazy.
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
and we're talking like entry-level positions.
Yeah.
We're not talking top-of-the-line positions,
Yeah.
and so now everybody's fighting for it, and I would hire somebody and they're like, oh, hey, thanks for the offer. I got another one. They gave me more whatever. And
Yeah.
I said, hey, can you just give me a chance? Maybe I can match it. And they're like, they gave me 20 grand.
Got it.
Good luck.
And I was like,
Got it.
it's a front desk position.
Got it.
Like,
Got
what,
it.
what are we doing here?
It's crazy.
So that's
Wow.
the challenge right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about your current team? The culture that you built, was there a sense of loyalty there?
Yeah, it's a great team.
Excellent.
I picked people just like me,
Yep.
not in the industry.
Yes.
I was hiring, and some. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I did everything right. I still do things wrong. I still, make mistakes. I still hire the wrong hires once in a while.
Yeah.
You go with your gut. That's going to happen. But I hired people that were like me. They were good people.
Yep.
Nice people. Like had this, we're all going up the same hill.
You
know
invite
what I
them
mean?
into your house
I
kind
can
of
teach them the
people.
rest.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
teach them the rest.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
For all these folks locally and/or just I guess New Jersey and New York, if they wanted to get in touch with you
Sure,
or check you
yeah.
out or your website,
Yep.
what does that look like?
It's www.pdirad.com.
So PDIRAD.com.
That's where everything is.
Yep.
Yeah, you can find out everything.
Is there anything that they should look for when they go on there? If there's a way to reach out to you?
So there's as soon as you get on, you can hit contact us.
Excellent.
And that'll come right to my email, come to my phone.
Excellent.
Wow.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we can take care of
Awesome.
any needs. Yep.
All right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on today,
Pleasure.
brother.
Nick,
Pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Crushed it.
Yeah,
Always a pleasure.
thank you.
And remember, folks, success leaves clues. It's not overnight success. It's hard work. It's discipline. It's really about understanding what your outcome truly is. If it's tied to your heart and to your why, the everyday action becomes real easy. And thanks for checking in. And once again, Nick, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much. It was great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.